The old Buddha, Prime Minister Choi Yun-tak, was once mourning the passing of his mother. He traveled south with only one horse and a servant, passing through the county of Kai Ryong. At that time, several district magistrates had set up a tent by the riverbank, enjoying refreshments. Seeing Choi ride by without dismounting, they decided to teach him a lesson. They sent an attendant to capture Choi's servant and questioned him about his master. The servant replied defiantly, "Choi, the old Buddha." Perplexed, they demanded his real name. The servant persisted, "The old Buddha." Angered by his response, they chastised him for concealing Choi's identity and punished him severely. Eventually, the servant revealed he is called Choi the Buddha, but his real name is Yun-tak, and he is on his way to his country home in Changwon. Realizing their mistake, the magistrates were struck with fear. They quickly dismantled their tent, cleared their food, and rushed to apologize and seek forgiveness from the Prime Minister. The old Buddha was a revered nickname for this esteemed minister, known widely for his wisdom and stature. A wonderful medicine. Prince Chung had served as the first minister of the realm for 30 years, known for his integrity and now nearing 90 years of age. His son, Wal, was second in influence only to him, and both were highly esteemed during their era, receiving special favor from the king. One day, Prince Chung's home was suddenly besieged by goblins and devils. In broad daylight, these mysterious beings harassed visitors, snatching hats and throwing stones, causing chaos throughout the court. Fleeing from the disturbance, Prince Chung moved to another residence where he concocted a special medicine known as Salqui Wan, or kill devil pills, which he offered in prayer. Miraculously, from the time he began using this medicine, the goblins ceased their attacks. Now, after 5 or 6 years, there has been no reappearance of these malevolent beings. Prince Chung himself remains in good health, free from sickness. Yiryuk. Prince Ha possessed a slave who owned land and lived in Yangju County. This slave had a daughter named Mo, renowned for her unparalleled beauty. An Yun, a distinguished scholar, fell deeply in love with Mo and married her. Upon hearing this, Prince Ha was filled with rage, questioning how a slave could dare marry into aristocracy. He had Mo captured and brought back, intending to marry her off to one of his own servants. Mo, tearful and distressed upon learning of this, escaped over the wall and returned to Anne. Overjoyed, Anne welcomed her back, though they both knew the challenges they faced due to the prince's disapproval. Together, they vowed to die rather than be separated. Learning of Mo's return to Anne, Prince Ha sent his men to capture her once more. From that point on, Mo vanished from sight until she was found dead, hanging by her neck in a room. Months of grief weighed heavily on Anne. One early autumn night, as he walked home from the Confucian temple across Camel Mountain's ridge, the moonlit treetops shimmered around him. The world was silent and still, with no travelers in sight. Lost in thoughts of Mo, An spoke lovingly of her, when suddenly a faint sound of footsteps emerged from among the pines. He looked carefully and saw Mo, knowing she had long passed away, and recognized her as a spirit. Yet, consumed by his longing for her, he rushed to her side, grasped her hand, and asked how she had come there. But she vanished, overcome with sorrow, and cried out and wept bitterly. His grief became so overwhelming that he fell ill, and, unable to eat due to his anguish, he soon passed away from a broken heart. Kim Champan, An's cousin and my dear friend, often recounted this tale, as did Yu Hyo-jung, An's nephew by marriage. Yu Hyo-jung spoke of Mo's unwavering faithfulness, praising her commitment even in death. He said, "She remained faithful until the end. For a woman who, born as a slave and unfamiliar with formalities, ceremony, righteousness, truth, or devotion, it is indeed difficult to die. Yet for love of her husband, she maintained her purity and departed this life untarnished. Among the faithful throughout history, was there ever one as steadfast as Mo?" The renowned MAING. Minister of State Maing Sa-song once set out on a long journey dressed in plain clothes. Along the way, he sought shelter from the rain in a side pavilion where a young scholar named Hwang Eui-han was already present, deeply engrossed in reading the inscription board adorned with verses. After a while, Wang turned to the elderly man and remarked, "Well, Granddad, do you understand the essence of these verses?" Pretending ignorance, the renowned minister stood up and replied, "An old countryman like myself, how could you expect me to know? Please enlighten me." Wang explained, "These verses were crafted by great men of the past. They captured their observations and experiences to inspire future generations. Poetry, you see, contains vivid images akin to paintings of sea and land." The minister responded, "Indeed, that's remarkable. Without scholars like yourself, how would I ever grasp such insights?" Soon after, a procession of pack horses laden with various goods and accompanied by numerous servants and retainers arrived. Wang, astonished, inquired about this spectacle and discovered to his amazement that the old man was none other than MAING himself. Unintentionally, he knelt down deeply in a gesture of profound respect. The minister chuckled and said, "That's enough. The worth of individuals lies not in their status, but in their thoughts. Unfortunately, all are born with pride. You, however, are no ordinary scholar. Why then be so proud earlier and so humble now?" He took Wang by the hand, guided him to a mat, comforted him, and bid him farewell. Yuk. The senses. The eyes are round like gems to roll and perceive. The ears have openings to hear. The nose detects smells through its passages. The mouth, with its horizontal slit, allows for breathing and speaking. The tongue, akin to an organ reed, facilitates speech and sound. 3 of these senses serve distinct functions, while the mouth serves dual purposes. However, it is the heart that distinguishes good from bad. Without the heart, even with eyes, one cannot see. Without ears, one cannot hear. Without a nose, one cannot smell. And without a mouth, one cannot breathe. Therefore, it is said that without the heart, seeing you cannot see, and hearing you cannot hear. Eerie. Who decides, God or the king? King Taejong of Korea was resting in Hongyang Palace when 2 eunuchs outside engaged in a debate about whether the affairs of men are governed by man or God. A argued, "Riches and honor are entirely in the king's hands." B countered, "No, everything, from wealth to promotions, is determined by God alone. Even the king has no control or power over it." Their argument continued without resolution until the king, overhearing them, decided to settle the matter discreetly. He wrote a secret dispatch, ordering a promotion of 1 degree in rank for the bearer of the letter. A was initially tasked with delivering the dispatch to Sejong, the official in charge. However, A suddenly fell ill with severe stomach pain just outside the palace enclosure and asked B to take his place and deliver the letter instead. The following day, when the king reviewed the promotion records, he found that B had indeed been advanced as per his command, but there was no mention of A receiving any promotion. Perplexed by this discrepancy, King Taejong investigated further. Upon learning the circumstances, he was struck with profound wonder and remained lost in deep thought for a long while. Three things mastered. Im Sungjong, a relative of the king, was known for his exceptional talent and dedication. He was renowned as the foremost harpist of his time, so much so that King Sejong remarked, "Im's harp has only one master and follows no other." Living outside the South Gate, Im Sungjong engaged in peculiar practices that baffled onlookers. Every morning for 3 years, he could be seen kneeling at his doorstep, rhythmically beating his hands up and down on his knees. Many thought him mad, unable to fathom the purpose behind his actions. Little did they know he was mastering the movements necessary for playing the harp. In addition to this, Im diligently practiced blowing air with his mouth and manipulating his fingers day and night, completely absorbed in his pursuit. His focus was so intense that visitors would come and go unnoticed by him. This rigorous routine persisted for 3 years, through which he mastered the techniques required for playing the flute. Despite being of slight build and initially inept at riding and archery, Im Sungjong was determined to overcome these shortcomings. Lamenting his weaknesses, he declared, "Though I am weak and lack skill in long-distance shooting, I will learn to hit the target dead center. This, too, can be achieved through practice." Thus, every morning he ventured into the hills with his bow and arrows, tirelessly shooting throughout the day. After 3 years of relentless effort, he became a renowned archer. Im Sungjong's dedication and perseverance exemplify the kind of man he was, a person who pursued mastery in multiple disciplines through unwavering commitment and disciplined practice. Eerie. Strangely stricken dead. There was once a man named Kim Tok-sang, a soldier of fortune who had been particularly honored at the court of King Taejong. Throughout his career, Kim had been appointed generalissimo of the army multiple times, and during his campaigns, he was often accompanied by a close and beloved friend. Kim had been dead for over 10 years when one night, this friend awoke with a start and cried out loudly. After settling down, he soon fell asleep again, only to be disturbed by another frightful vision. His wife, concerned and puzzled, asked what was troubling him. The friend explained, "I just saw General Kim riding a white horse with a bow and arrows at his belt. He called out to me and said, 'A thief has just entered my home, and I have come to shoot him dead.' He then rode off. Shortly after, he returned, drawing an arrow from his quiver, and I noticed blood marks on it. He said, 'I have just shot him. He is dead.'" The husband and wife, filled with fear and amazement, discussed the strange vision throughout the night. At dawn, the friend went to Kim's former home to inquire about the events. He learned that, on the very night of his vision, Kim's young widow had decided to remarry. As soon as her new fiancé entered the house, he was seized by a sudden excruciating pain. Before the night ended, he had died in great agony. The mysterious Hoi Tree. Prince Basong's residence was located just inside the Great East Gate, with a large Hoi tree standing before it. One night, as the prince's son-in-law was passing along the road in front of the archer's pavilion, he saw a vast assembly of bowmen, too numerous to count, all shooting arrows at targets. Moments later, he observed them practicing various martial skills. Some were throwing spears, others were hurling bowls, and many were shooting from horseback, completely blocking the road. As he approached, some of the archers shouted, "Look at that impudent rascal! He dares to ride by without dismounting." They seized him, disregarding his pleas for mercy, and beat him mercilessly. Amidst his cries of pain, a tall figure emerged from the crowd and, with a commanding voice, said, "He is my master. Why do you treat him so?" The tall figure released him, took him by the arm, and led him back to the prince's gate. When the son-in-law turned to look back, he saw the tall figure walk under the Hoi tree and vanish. It dawned on him then that all the archers were spirits, not men, and that the tall figure who had come to his aid was also a spirit. This spirit had emerged from the very Hoi tree that stood in front of Prince Pasong's house.